This is Paul Payton with Focal Splash, and today I'm going to do a pretty big composite. We're going to take this little boy here and his dog, and we're going to put him in a scene where he's got a fishing pole and some fish, and the dog's looking at a fish, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to get started. First, I'm going to get the quick select tool, and then we're going to zoom in a little bit here and just try and select the dog with the quick select tool. We're going to select him. I will be speeding up quite a bit of this as we go through it so that you don't have to watch me with my every move. All right. First, we're going to go to select and mask. We'll refine this a little bit. I got the brush tool selected. I'm pressing Alt to remove this. Who knows how that got selected, right? And we'll go ahead and leave all that. It's a piece of his shadow here we want. So pressing nothing, just going to select this so that we have that shadow. Pressing Alt, I'll deselect some of the extra stuff here. We'll definitely refine that mask later while we're compositing. And so we have a pretty good mask here. Let's just lower the opacity and see if I'm missing anything of the dog's ears. That's part of his ear right there. I'm going to go ahead and add it for now. Just add that to the mask so we can have that. We can mask it out later. And I think that's going to be a pretty good mask to start with. Alright, so I'm going to say make it a new document with layer mask. Okay, now he's up on a brand new document here with the layer mask, just the dog, but the whole picture is still there in case we need to layer in and layer out some things. So I like that. Alright, next thing we want to do is do the same thing with the boy. So Control D, and we'll go ahead and select him out. Holding the shift bar down, go to the top here, Z to zoom in a little bit using the mouse there, and actually I use a Wacom tablet with a pen, but alright, and so quick select, and we'll just start selecting him. Holding down the Alt key. Alright. Let's get his hair in here. We'll get that hair in the selected mask. Alright, here. Alright, I want his hand for sure, right? And we'll even take this pole and deselect this. Got a little sloppy. Deselecting that, make sure that's deselected, and we'll get this pole. Alright, I'll select a mask and see what we got. Turn the opacity up for now. Zoom in. Alright, we don't need this, so I'm going to use the quick select tool within here and hold the Alt key down and see, just get rid of that. That's the dog's shadow, so you know we can fake that. We don't need that part of the shadow, especially not on the boy. And I'm going to go make them a little smaller and just select his shadow out here and deselect this right here. And something like that. His shoe isn't selected, so we'll go ahead and select his whole shoe here. And we're working on a pretty good selection here. And so it keeps doing that. So what I'm going to do is use refine mask, and we'll make that a lot smaller. We don't need, see, got that in there without the screen in porch, without the screen. Alright. And the beautiful thing is we can refine this mask later during the composite. We'll get a real good selection here and then we'll refine it later. Alright, we'll choose white real quick to see if we see anything that we're missing. Sometimes, for instance, we'll get the refined mask here. You can get rid of stuff that you see with white background that you can't see with a black background. Alright, I think that's good. And I'm going to go ahead and hit create a new document with layer mask and hit OK. Now we got the boy in his own document. And so from this picture, that's all we wanted was the boy and the dog, and we're all set with that one. So I'm gonna pull some other images from some other pictures real quick, and then we'll get back to it. We're gonna have, this is the background, this is the dog and the little boy and the fish and another fish, another bunch of fish, and another fish. Alright, so we have fish to choose from. We got the boy and the dog. This is gonna be beautiful. Go ahead and look at this layer, hit Command 0 to make it nice and big. I'm gonna crop this in a little bit. After I'll crop this in a little bit afterwards. We'll see about placing the boy and the dog and the fish first. So I'm gonna hit the V key. Just gonna grab the whole thing up here and let him go right here and see how he looks. Alright, he looks too big. Alright, so we'll leave him just like that. And we got the dog, and we already have the V key selected. We'll drag him up and we're gonna put him right here. Alright, he's going to be standing somewhere over there. And then we got some fish. I'm not sure if we'll use this one or not, but I think that could be right in his hand, like that. And we have another fish. I'm going to like this for the pole, and he's really big. And let's get this other bunch of fish. We'll throw them in here and see which ones we like. And finally, this fish. So we got all the fish and everybody is on the background. So I'm going to grab this fish here. So I'm just going to grab this fish and move him up a little bit. Alright, where do we want him? We got the choice. We have either we got this fish, which is already sized pretty good, or this fish. This guy matches these guys better. This guy kind of matches these guys better. Ooh, it's a tough call. The lighting on this is pretty good. The lighting on that's pretty good. If we transform this guy and rotate him horizontally, we got better lighting. Lighting looks like it's coming from that direction. If I'm going to use this one, I want to be a little bigger. So I hit enter on that. Bring him down here. I think I like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off that layer, and we'll just use him and Control T, and we'll make him smaller. Make him a little more realistically sized here. Nice big fish for a little boy, but I wanted to see if we could make that fish a little wider, just to give him more girth. Alright, hit enter. And if we choose that, we got to choose these guys. So we're going to turn off these guys too. I'm just going to move these and group them in a group. We're going to call the group not used just for fun. I'm going to turn that group off. We're going to drag it down to here just to keep it out of the way, just in case we want to use it. All right. So now I have to grab this. We're going to call this one, make things a little easier here, we'll call it fish. So grab the fishes layer and just move them right here, and we're going to use the use a technique to match the colors. So Control J makes a copy of the fish layer, and then Image, Adjustments, Match Color, and we'll say source is, the layer is going to be background, and see the color of the fish there has changed. Let's put intensity up, luminance up. Let's see what we get here. Trying to just match the fish's color to the background. A little bit more than it was. Okay. Now we're going to do the same with the boy. Alright, Control J to put that up on a new layer. Image, adjustments, color match. There's lots of ways to match colors. This is just one of them. Just looking to see if he matches the background, like he's really standing there. I like that. And then Mr. Doggy, same thing. Command J and Image, Adjustments, Color Match. It's going to be, this is the source, and here is the colors to match, and luminance way up, color intensity, and the fade is like opacity, you know, how much are we really changing the color of the dog, because you don't want the dog's colors to be green and what, that's crazy. But the green, the light through the trees and such is affecting the dog. I think that's a good start. And the fishy boy, let's do the same thing. Command J, image. There's lots of ways to do color matching. This is just one of them. Now obviously we can just take this layer and we can lower the opacity of it and bring back the color that was there. So if we wanted to, you know, bring it down a little bit, and then the same with this layer on the fishes, just like that, and on the dog, I like the way he looks, and the boy, he's looking fine too. We did a good job with him. Okay, so already he looks like he's more in the scene, but I still say he's too big. So let's just grab the, we'll group these together, Control G, we'll group these. That's the dog, and the fishes, and the fish. We'll see what happens if we go here and go to Control T. Choose this to keep the image from warping. And I'm thinking, by looking at the background here, seeing how big this guy should be, We want him to be kind of small because he's such a cutie. Alright, so something like that. We'll put him standing on this rock here. How big should the dog be? Hit enter. Let's choose the dog group. We had to group them because we have 2 layers and we want to move the layers simultaneously with the transform tool. I didn't choose to lock it, so you can see that I'm messing with the dog's ratio, and that's not good. So hit escape, Control T again, make sure I lock this, or you can just press the shift key while you're moving it from the corners. And the dog should be about that big. Let's just see where he's going to stand. I like it. And I'm going to rotate him a little bit because he was rotated a little in the original picture. And the same with the boy. So click on that group and hit Control T, and we'll just rotate him a little bit so he's standing straight up. And then we've got the fish to deal with. This is fishes, and I want them a little smaller. So we're going to zoom in here, Control T, transform, holding the shift key down, and they're a little fat to me, so I'm going to just bring them in a little, make them skinnier, and have them right like that, just like he would be holding them. Alright, and then enter, and then the size of this guy here. We want the dog looking at him. So Control T. I'm going to hold the shift key down, or I could click that. And I want the dog looking at him like that. When we're done, you know, the dog's like, yeah, I want that. Alright, I'm going to use the warp tool on him, because you can't warp a group. Interesting. Alright, I do like the color of them. We can change the color later if we want. So instead of making it a group, I'm just going to flatten these 2 layers by hitting Control E, and then watch me warp that bad boy. Thank you. Because I want to make it so that the water is moving his tail. I want him to be with his tail kind of in the water. Alright, and then take warp off and make him a little smaller. See? He's like tail running in the water. Alright, okay. So far this is our composition. What am I missing? Missing some light on the rocks to match the light on the boy, because we brought in light coming in this direction. This light on the trees telling me that in the background the light's in this direction, which is a little bothersome. You know what? Let's try something fun. I'm going to make a new layer just like that. I'm going to hit Control T and then right click on the background and flip horizontal. And now the light's coming from that direction. Boy, that changes the entire, whew, that really changes the entire image, doesn't it? Alright, well, I like it. So we're going to figure it out. Alright, so zoom in a little, hit enter, zoom in a little bit. Now I'm going to grab Doggy and move him right over to here. And fish. That's fishes. So let's choose fish and move him. Now he's not going to be in the water. And might have to warp him again. Boy. Yeah, the lighting is going to work better at this angle anyway. Fishes. My wife says I'm doing a good job. She's one of my biggest supporters. Of course, she's a good woman. And choose dog. Dog again. And moving him right here to the edge. I can add some rock there. Can have him standing right there. Like it. Fish. Move him closer to doggy. Flip him. Control T. Ta-da. Now we can drop him down into the water a little bit. So the dog's looking at him. Yeah. Fishes are good. Dog's good. Boy is good. Looking good so far. I'm going to go ahead and crop here. Crop in a little this way. I'm liking that. Cropping down just a little bit. Back this way a little bit. That is probably gonna be a nice crop. What we got to do now is figure out a way to get a fishing pole up and over. So got to get a pole here. Where, oh where am I gonna get a fishing pole? I'm gonna go look to see if I can find a hook. Alright. Strange enough, here's a hook. Nice, huh? I'm going to use the magic wand tool, and that ought to do that, and just hit delete. What are you going to do with a big hook like that? Good questions. Going to do hue and saturation adjustment on it, and looking for tan, something like colorize. Okay. Still don't know what I'm doing, do you? Well, I probably don't know either. So with this, I'm gonna hit Alt, flip it horizontally, and then I'm going to rotate it just like that. I'm gonna put it up here, and going to hit enter. I'm going to do a puppet warp, edit, puppet warp. We'll put this, so I want it down like that, and put a point here and bring it up like that. Put a point here, bring it over, a point here, we're going to keep bending it, and then a point here, we'll bend it back this way. I'm thinking that looks something like a fishing pole, right? Alright, for now we'll just hit enter on that, and then we'll I'm going to make it smaller. Control T, and we'll just bring this smaller to about that size. Now we'll move it to where we want it. Something like that. And then we'll go to puppet warp and grab here and grab here and here, and then we'll just drag this out like so. When I'm done, is this even going to be close to a fishing pole? Well, I hope so. I need it to be a little bigger now. Control, just hit enter, and again with the transform tool, just make it a little bigger this way. Alright, slight rotation. I'm thinking we got something there. I'm going to go into liquefy now, because sometimes it's just easier, and just make my tool real big and not that big, and push up on this, make it a nice curve. Alright, push down on this a little bit, this way. Yeah, you know, like that, right? It's curving. Enter. I like it. Alright, so now we're going to create a layer mask and choose black and 100% opacity with the brush. And I'm just going to get rid of this right here for now. Right? And okay. So somebody going to notice that's not a cane pole? Maybe. Let's get the brush and go to this layer right here. And I'm going to paint with a darker color. I'm going to zoom in first. Alright, and I'm going to choose black, but I'm going to paint with a different color. I'm going to paint with a darker color like so. Really small brush. And paint some lines across here, like what we have as a cane pole. Who knows if this will fool anybody. Bit of fantasy art anyway. Alright, just while we're here, I'm going to grab the fish layer, the fishes layer, and I'm going to make just a layer mask for that group. On that layer mask, I'm going to paint black and take it off his hand here. Just like that. I'm going to just grab this real quick. Really, that's a great brush. Just grab that brush. And clone stamp tool. And just want to grab some of this string here. I'm going to create a new layer right here. And just put some string running right down his hand here. Just like that. Just grab the erase tool here. Forget layer mask on this. 70% opacity. And just erase that off of there. And choose a brush tool. Go to black, or that dark color we had before. And at 30% opacity, just going to paint in what might appear to be a shadow right here. To the untrained eye. Except for it stopped painting right there because there's some kind of layer mask on the group, right? So paint with white right here. Alright, so we got a bit of a shadow there. I like it. We're not going to be zoomed in that much anyway, so... And in Photoshop, if it looks right, it is right. Alright, so... About this fish. Zoom in here. Can't zoom in that much because we need to line him up this way. That's interesting. The water is going to be pushing him a little bit. Alright. And zooming in. I'm going to grab this color right here. The brush tool, Alt, selecting that kind of grayish color. Right. Just use this layer. Zoom out a little bit so I can see the end of what we're calling the fishing pole. Touching here first, and then just up there holding the shift key and touching there. Now we got a string. That was at 30% opacity, so I'm going to hit Control Z one more time. I'm going to put it up to 80% opacity. Touching right here, and then hitting shift, touching right there, and that looks a little thicker. And then zooming in right here, just gonna make this a little smaller, and I put a little knot right there, something like that. Alright, making sure fish and just going to put a layer mask right here, painting with black and zooming in, getting rid of this. Alright, still on the fish. You see there's a little bit of a edge here to the fish, so blend them into the background here a little bit more. Alright, so we got something good here going. Getting pretty close here. I'm liking it. I'm thinking that the group here, fishes, might be too bright. I'm going to create a curves adjustment layer on there and just bring these fishes down. Hit this button right here to only affect the fish. Okay, I want to affect the whole group. The whole fishy group. Something like that. Maybe not that much. Really what we need to do is bring down the whites quite a bit. There you go. Alright, and the dog seems to be pretty white and bright. So let's do the same thing with the doggy group. Let's just click that and see if we put a curves layer, if it'll put it above it. Yep. Clip it, mask right to it. And then when we bring this down, it'll just affect the dog. Okay. Alright, so we get to the dog layer here, and we're going to remove his shadow from here. So I'm painting black on the layer mask and just taking his shadow out. He's standing on nothing. The dog can stand on nothing. Oh my goodness. Background layer, clone stamp tool. Get rid of the dog for now. Stamp this right here. We'll just extend this rock out. You can do that? Oh yeah, you can. Just like that. And everybody's like, you can't do that, that's amazing. Put the dog back. Oh, he's got something to stand on. I like it. Okay. Now if the boy is standing there, his shadow's kind of nice. Do this with the boy. I'm going to, painting with black at 10%. So we're just going to take care of, make it 80% out here. We got to get rid of this part of the shadow. And then 30%. Just make the shadow lighter. So we still have a shadow there. It's just lighter. Alright, so next thing we want to do is put a really light shadow underneath the boy's foot. So I'm going to create a new layer again and paint in black, really small, lower opacity, painting with black, and just paint right here, because when we stand on things we create a contact shadow. The light doesn't reflect up on our foot as much, so right there is just going to make that look a lot more realistic. And put a little contact shadow right here. Right here. You may not even see this in the final. Use this clone stamp tool here, and I'm going to grab right here, Alt, click in here, and 100% opacity. Just want to get some ripple effect off of that fish. Just like that. Alright, now what else? Let's look at the background here. And I'm going to create a new layer above the background, below everything else. And I'm going to choose to fill it with gray. Fill 50% gray. And I'm going to choose the layer of soft light. Alright. it didn't do it. So layer soft light. Alright, and then I'm going to paint with black and see what happens here. Painting with the brush with black, and I'm just gonna, I'm at 30% opacity. Just darken the sky back here a little bit. That's kind of cool. Nice big brush, 10% opacity. Darken this area over here. That reflection right there, gonna darken it up. What we're looking at here is a kind of a problem because the background, you see, is really sharp. And the boy is not that sharp. So first of all, we're going to try and fix that. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Just going to zoom right here and look at the boy versus this tree. Yep, we got a little bit of sharpness back here. That isn't in him. Too much pixelation. And to fix that, I'm going to go to select the background, filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. And we're just going to put a little bitty blur on it, on the whole thing. I don't want it but more than 5, and hit OK. Zooming back out. Now it's just a little bit better here. And then we'll go ahead and have the background here. Go to filter, blur, and tilt shift. Alright, we'll bring this down to where the boy is standing, and we're not going to blur it that much, or even that much. Maybe not even that much. That's still quite a bit of blur. So what you do is you want to put this line right on the horizon. Alright, and you want, this is where you want the blur to start happening. So past the boy here, and then it blur fades to this line, which is the horizon. I'm going to put that just a little higher, maybe a little higher, so that these things are in focus more. And I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. I don't want the foreground to be too crazily out of focus. So I think we got it. It's still quite a bit of blur for me. Just 3 pixels. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. Now, what do we got here? Alright. So I'm going to turn off the background. And then I'm going to make a stamp visible layer of everything. That means everything we see here is going to be copied to a layer. So everything is turned off, and then we're going to just erase this. 100% opacity, and just get rid of it. Looking around, see if there's anything more that we don't want. Smaller brush. Alright, I don't see anything else. Something right here. You probably can't even see any of that. Who knows if you see it on the video. Might not even show you this part. Okay, it's all gone. So then we just turn on the background again, and those lines are gone. I like it. So that looks like it's going to be all I need to do in Photoshop. So I'm going to go ahead and hit File, Save. Now, in Lightroom, I'd like to do a little bit of stuff here to make it all kind of fit even better. Just change the tint a little bit. I think the whole thing could be a little brighter. Highlights. You know, when you're making global adjustments, it makes the whole picture kind of come together. And there, and we're going to definitely put it's supposed to be kind of a dreamy picture. So we'll do this. Put a little bit of a vignette on the whole thing. I'm thinking I left the boy a little bright sunshiny. So let's go ahead and see if we can just take a little bit of sunshine off of these two. There's no sunshine and he's gone. Well, there you have it. Alright, let's zoom in a little. And take another look here at his face. It's a little too much. Alright. I'm thinking he looks, you know, pretty realistic there. Alright. Let's see if that fools anybody. I'd like to take it back into, I haven't taken it out of Photoshop. Let's go back into Photoshop for a second here. And we'll get on the layer up here. Alright, we'll get on this layer. There's a couple more things we want to do. I forgot to adjust the lighting on the rocks to make it look like the boy's standing there better. And zooming in a little bit on this rod, I noticed that we can take some of the edge off of this with a layer mask. Again, with the brush tool, painting in black. We don't need this light edge under here. And on the dog, a little bit of a black edge here. Also wouldn't be there. Okay. Looks pretty good. Alright, I don't like that. That's what I was looking at. That looks kind of dumb. There we go. Alright, so, and now light on the rocks. Alright, so I'm going to create a new, don't need to create one, I'm going to paint with a white at about 30% opacity here, and I'm just going to try and brighten these sides of the rocks, because that's where the light's coming from, and it's pretty bright on the dog and the boy. So we want it to be brighter, lots brighter on these rocks. Okay. And now we'll look at it with the boy on there. And we just have more light there. And look at this mask by getting normal. We see what we did, lightening things up. What I want to do is create a curves adjustment layer. And actually we'll just use a levels layer. And I want to just brighten the whole thing up a little bit. Just like that. And then put it back to a soft light. And I'll just add even more light because the whites are truly white now. And I'm looking at it thinking, well, I don't know what else to do except for trying to go ahead and make a copy of this and filter blur, Gaussian blur. We'll just give these guys a little bit of a blur. Okay. And the same with the background. Alright, so they match pretty good now, and there's no hard edges, and I'm going to say that's done. File, save, and then we're going to go into Lightroom, and we should find our changes already here. Alright, you see this right here? Metadata change, import from disk, and there we have that. So those lines that we had are gone. And develop. Go ahead and let's see auto and see what it does. Ooh, yuck, right? We don't like that. So let's bring that back down. Give a little more of a summer day here. Alright, and then auto on this. Way too bright, huh? Going. I like vibrance. Highlights down a little bit. I like that. Effect. I like dehaze. Why? Just adds contrast. I could dehaze all the way. Just give it a little bit. A nice vignette. Is that too much? Yep. A little less there. Alright. Now, just looking at, let's go back to here. I wanna do something here. Just control, I wanna zoom in. And I wanna paint a little bit of sharpness into his face. Could have done that in Photoshop, but I didn't, and I don't really want to go back there right now. So get a little sharpness, a little clarity, and see if we can't make his eyes pop a little bit. Too much clarity. See, clarity will darken things. You don't want to give him a dark face here. So sharpness, a little bit of contrast, and a little brightness. I darkened him. Ooh, like, ooh, no. Just a point or two of brightness here. A little more contrast. You can bump the clarity up and then bump the brightness up. Not much. Actually, I didn't add any brightness to it. I just wanted to add some sharpness and a little bit of contrast and see what we get. Alright, there you have it. That's what I did. Who knows if I did it right or not. But if you like what I did, let me know. And leave a comment one way or the other. Tell me, oh, you should do this to fix this little situation, or you should do that. I'd love to hear that because I like to do a good job. So just let me know that, and I really want to know what you think. All right, thanks.